Hi, welcome back to part 2. Go back to part 1 if you want the gist as to why this video exists. I had an epiphany regarding this video series, but I'll save that for after the questions. Here's the crew. My anonymous friend, codename Fred. She still goes by the codename Meguca, but she's still better known as Neni, a translator at Precise Museum, which I did not know when I was making the last video somehow. I know her more from her independent projects. The narrator will speak for himself until after the noise. That's me, Jonathan, Egg123, who narrated a previous video. I'm back again. Wow, isn't that cool? The editor of this video, Kakid484, or Kakid for short, hope I pronounced that right, just came up to me out of the blue on a tweet where I said I maybe need editors, which works out. The original draft of this video, I was going to ask for more editors anyway, and now it's a test drive for my editor. Suits me fine, I frankly didn't even do it myself. Technically they are my second editor, but the first one is still working on that video as of writing. So to put that first editor to rest, you didn't lose your job with me. And me, my codename used to be Me, but since I have someone narrate this video, that'd be too confusing. So my Mamono's codename for this series will be Stephen Mamono, unless it's Boingo, I'm not sure. Unless said otherwise, this is narrated from my perspective, as if I'm telling you all this, even though it's very likely written by Fred or Meguca instead. This video will have less questions for reasons I'll tell you at the end. Ready, set, go!
In Madao there are multiple Dracos, but later she is one character. Are there more instances of this happening? Why does this happen?
Carbuncle is also shown to be a species several times in Madao related media. And in Mega Drive Madao Monogatari, you can take a, say, Witch or Draco with you and have them fight against another Witch or Draco. In general, much of the cast in Madao is more so portrayed as mooks, though it's rare we see more than one on screen at once, so it muddles things a little. The multiple Dracos seems to just be because Compile never settled whether Draco is always the same character, or if she's an entire species. At least with Witch we know she's just one of many apprentice witches, but the one Arl runs into for story reasons is always the same one.
Lemres?
So, this is me throwing Meguca a bone. She explains Lemris all the time to people who asks on social media because a lot of his lore is just out of sight for most people, and I offered her a place that's easily findbackable. This is a lot, so I'm leaving this to the narrator as to how she wrote it, so the rest of this section is Meguca speaking. Oh boy, Lemris biography time. Lemris is the son of a renowned, noble family of dark sorcerers living somewhere outside Primtown in a location we don't know yet. He grew up in the same neighborhood as Klug, and it is implied that he used to babysit/play with Klug when Klug was a grade schooler or younger. Lemris was considered a magic prodigy at a young age and was paraded by his parents around at a young age as the pride of their dark magic lineage. However, Lemris himself always hated his status. A pacifist at heart, the magic duels his parents forced him into to show off his talent distressed him, and he more and more frequently would hide himself away into the kitchen of his family's estate and start baking to calm himself down, rather than obeying his parents' orders. Eventually, he started running away from home on the days when duels were scheduled. However, he could never bring himself to stay away from home for long, and would always come home apologizing, accepting punishment. That ended when he ran into a very young Prince Salde Canal Shelbrick III one day while feeding the animals in the forest with his bakeries. When Lemris realized the young prince was in a similar situation to himself, he at first panicked and tried to convince the child to go home before he'd get punished for running away. However, when the prince insisted that he knew what he was doing and that freedom was worth it, it inspired Lemris. The final push came when the prince asked Lemris to use his magic to turn him into a fish, so he could go and explore the oceans. Lemris never forgot the grateful, happy smile that Prince Salde gave him after being transformed. It was this incident that made Lemris realize that A, he didn't need to stay with his parents if he didn't want to, and B, he could use his magic to make people happy, rather than hurt them. The incident inspired Lemris to run away from home and use his magic for philanthropy without anyone around to tell him not to do so. So Lemris took off and never looked back. He spent a while wandering the land, helping out people in need where he found them, then he settled down in Fellystown, enrolled in an elite magic school there, and got certified as a sorcerer before even being close to graduating. To this day, Lemris rarely returns home to his family's estate unless he absolutely has to, and his Fever 2 character profile even lists his family's home as his greatest dislike. After leaving home, Lemris pretty much entirely swore off dark magic, which is implied to be the reason why he needs to eat so much sugar. He's using his blood sugar to fuel his magic because he can't power the light elemental magic he is trying to specialize in with his innate dark magic. This is reflected in his clothes too. He calls himself a light mage, but is sorcerer's uniform, which according to Fever 2, changes colour depending on the brightness of the innate magic of the user, is dark green. Puyo Puyo 7 further implies that Lemris thinks his magic was lighter when he was a child, as his mini-form wears brighter green robes than he does. Further, he seems to be aiming to become an entirely light elemental mage, as the robes of his mega form are pure white in Puyo Puyo 7. Lemris is obsessed with putting people around him at ease and making them smile, but his attempts usually backfire due to how he goes about it. His mannerisms make people mistake him for a kidnapper, his awkward attempts to change topics when things get too heavy have often confused people, and in the novel Sig's Secret, he accidentally manages to make Amity think Sig hates her when he lies to her in order to stop her from getting herself hurt, trying to help Sig. He also deliberately knows more about the Tome of Sealing, its demon, and Sig than he lets on. He was the one who told Klug about the book. It is unclear if he knew Klug was going to take it out of the library after being told about it. He is always the first to catch on when Sig's latent powers activate, and he was the one who had the 3 unsealing items on hand when Accord needed them. That said, Lemris's connection to the demon, if any, is unknown. He seems very intent on protecting Sig from the Crimson Soul, however. Tetris 2 makes it clear that Lemris is very aware of Feli's crush on him and Klug's idolization, but he's too awkward to do anything about it. He seems to regard both of them like little siblings of a sort, which makes it even stranger that he insisted that Amity be the one to save Klug from Fever 2 rather than himself. All in all, Lemris is a very mysterious character, who seems to know a lot of secrets he isn't willing to confess yet, though certainly not as many as Miss Accord, who has been shown to lie to him before as well. At heart, however, he definitely cares deeply about the happiness of the people around him, to the point that he's willing to do stupid things such as throwing himself in front of an opponent far more powerful than him to protect them.
Satan has a brother named Lucifer, right? I understand that he only appears in a few novels. Do you know in which ones?
Please welcome a guest star party member, Moth Satan, for answering this bit. As long as this Satan is on screen, then it's their contribution. Also, if you have an accurate answer for someone and you want to be in the video, please don't ask me to put your answer in, I'll ask you. There's 2 Shin Mado series, one meaning true and the other meaning new. In the former, the one usually referred to as Shin Mado, Lucifer is Satan's old name. In the latter, Lucifer is Satan's brother. Also, both compile-era novel series can't possibly be canon to the game series, since they both contradict the events of pretty much everything else heavily. Brother Lucifer especially cannot exist because in New Mardor he is the headmaster of Arul's school, while in 15th, Satan states that he himself was the headmaster of Arul's school. And that's the video. Is it shorter? I have no idea, I'm writing this section before even editing this time. But there's no denying it's less, and there are a few reasons for that. I had an epiphany. I don't like editing videos like this, despite liking writing them. But there's an issue. Puyo Puyo needs a video series like this, but the questions keep piling on, and I can't keep up. That is why I was looking for an editor, using this very video to ask for. That's why I can become a complete middleman in this video series. So luckily, an editor happened to approach me after the first draft is done, which works out, yay. I made a deal with 2 editors now. Fred and I can and will make and write essay-ish stuff, or Puyo Puyo's doppelgangers, while I spend my editing hours on shitposts, which makes me happy to do. And now for the true purpose of this video. There are just too many questions and I just possibly can't keep up. I don't want YouTube as a job. So I came up with a solution. In the description will be a Google Doc. I've compiled a few questions I've seen around and had me, Steven, Boingo, Mamono, Fred, and Meguca answer them to the best of our abilities. If a question comes up that doesn't have an easy to find answer, is niche or frequently asked, we'll put it there. This video has essentially been an ad for that Google Doc, and what made me truck through this video, if I was still the one editing it, if it wasn't for fate having changed things at the last minute. I've recycled a few answers from there. Next lore Q&A video will be less lazy, I promise. This was written under the assumption I was the one editing it. And my heart just isn't in for editing something as straight-faced as this. Have anything you want to say, Fred, Jonathan, Meguca, and Kiki?
I don't have anything to plug. since I prefer to stay anonymous, but I'll likely still pop up here from time to time, if I happen to have had involvement in a video.
If I had a nickel for every time Puyo made me type up a ridiculously lengthy rant, I wouldn't have to work part-time handing out flyers to people in malls anymore. Also, read my translations. Also, read/play precise museums translations. Also, read my fanfic.
I'm just happy to be here. Smiley face.
Well, what I want to say is, one time I was talking to Puyo or Fisheye on Twitter because they made a tweet saying that no Puyo characters were balling, and I provided evidence that, in fact, there were characters that were balling. They denied that, so, kinda awkward, not gonna lie. And thank you for helping me. Here's Mod Mamono's Ko-fi, for if you want to give me money to help hire other people. Here's Neni/Meguca's Ko-fi, if you want to thank her for all she's done for Western Puyo fans. Here's Jonathan's Ko-fi, because giving money is nice. And here's Kid's Ko-fi, if you want to pay them directly instead of through me. Donate responsibly. Everything everyone involved wants to be linked in the description and pinned in the pinned comment will be linked in the description and in the pinned comment. I guess this is the end of the video. When this is uploaded, after that I'm preparing to get really real.